Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Thursday. We have a lot to talk about tonight. Lots to get into. A big show. Our featured story tonight, we're talking all about the Epstein files, which are now finally out. And they're not all out yet. This is just one tranche, one trove of Epstein-related emails. And the release of the emails was compelled by the House Oversight Committee. Some pretty damning stuff in there. We'll talk about the contents of the emails. Trump says it's a hoax. Next week, we're going to know for sure because the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has vowed that next week he will bring the motion to the floor, which will force the DOJ to release everything. What's notable about the motion is that 100 Republicans are expected to break with Trump and support it, which is something I thought I'd never see. Trump runs in 2024 on transparency. Release the files, Epstein, 9/11, JFK, everything like that. He gets in office, he doesn't do it. Says he will. Tries to trick the public into thinking he did with the binders. Then in July declares, shortly after a visit from Netanyahu, that actually there are no files. There are no files at all. They just simply don't exist. Republicans in the House try to suppress it. They literally adjourn early, about a month early. They don't conduct any official business in order to suppress the vote. People keep pushing. Now Congress is back. And now you have 100 Republicans defying the president openly to compel him to deliver on the promise for full disclosure. Pretty interesting stuff. So we'll talk about it tonight. That'll be our main story, and we'll get into some of the most damning emails, two in particular, which I saw. We're also going to talk tonight about a new deal, a 20-year foreign aid bill where we will be funding Israel to the tune of almost $100 billion. We'll talk about the details of it because that is where it's pretty outrageous. It's called a Memorandum of Understanding. And for the past 3 decades, we have an MOU. It goes for 10 years. And it has the United States giving Israel, under the current deal, $3.8 billion per year for 10 years. And this current deal expires in 2028. Now, the Israelis are recognizing that come 2029, maybe there won't be an appetite for the United States to give foreign aid to Israel. So they're saying they, in the next year, want to get a new MOU that doesn't just go 10 years, but goes 20 years, and they're seeking another increase in the amount of aid. So somewhere in the ballpark of $4 billion per year for 20 years. Locked in. And they want to slip this one past the goalie while pro-Israel Trump is still the president. America first, they said, except it's the opposite. Trump, go figure, he is literally now being used as a last-ditch effort to subvert and actually obstruct America first. They recognize that whoever the next president will be might actually be forced to be America first. They say, so Trump, while you're still president, stop them. Give us as much money as you can, as much as they can get away with before they lose the American public. Hate to say I told you so, but I told you that this is exactly what would happen last year. So I told you so, but we'll talk about all that. Should be a pretty good show. Big stuff, guys. It's like I said on Monday, this is just every day now. Does this feel like the golden age? Not to beat the dead horse, but does this really feel like the golden age? Does it really feel different this time? Are you bored with winning? Are you tired of winning? Because to me, it just feels like every single day, day in, day out, it's something new. On every front, it's like we're bombing Iran. We're not deporting farm workers anymore. The numbers come out and the deportations are down. We lost 50,000 jobs and we're never publishing the report from October. We're not actually publishing the Epstein files. And if you have a problem with it, well, we don't want your vote. It's like every day, every single day, it's something like this. And I feed off of it. Every day I grow stronger. Because last year, I will keep harping on it until literally 2028. I said it would happen like this. I told you so. And everybody else said, no, I trust the plan. It's going to be one win after the other. And now look at them. Now look at the rats scurrying away. Now they say, okay, maybe we'll chimp out. All right, maybe we'll criticize Trump, but only we can do it. Your credibility's finished. Trump is finished. MAGA's finished. We are on a war path. This is a snowball. This has to be a snowballing movement. You think this is the high watermark of America First outrage? This has only just begun. It's my job to keep pushing and pressing. I need to make it hurt for the next 2 or 3 years until 2028. And hopefully by then we actually have America First. That's the goal. So with that in mind, we're going to move on. We're going to get into the show. I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble. Smash the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the show. Get your t-shirts. Wang Half t-shirt on sale. Well, it's not on sale. It's just we're selling it. So in that sense, they are for sale. Fuentes.store. And it says Wang Half. Let everybody know. You've seen the clips. You've seen the Instagram reels. You've seen the TikToks. And they sell it on the TikTok shop. But don't get it there. Get it from the official store. Wang Half t-shirt. That's what we are. White ass niggas going hard as fuck. We are the new Rome. We don't listen to Jewish cancel culture. We don't listen to Jewish women lecturing us like Aaron Wexler. You see that? It's so funny because it's not that deep. Everything that's going on, and you have all these like think tanks and conservative publications and influencers, and they're all trying to understand why I'm popular. Here's why everyone loves Nick. Here's why Nick is popular. Why is this happening? And so I saw Aaron Wexler. She's like this Jewish spy. She's like, I think she's a Jewish trust fund kid. Excuse me. And she came on the scene, I don't know, a couple of years ago after October 7th to like, enforce the pro-Israel thing on the right wing. And she's this horse face, ugly girl. I mean, she seems nice enough, but that's like a complex. She's not great looking. If she were hotter, I think she'd probably just not be online. She'd be in Hollywood. She'd be a model. But when you're not that hot, you go into conservative politics. That's the grift. I'll let you in on a little secret. Every woman wants to be a influencer. But to be a female influencer, you got to be pretty hot. If you're not that hot, then you go into conservative politics because that's where all the dorky incel men are, and they have no standards. And they just like to see a girl that agrees with them. So, she's hot enough, I guess. She's okay. Anyway, so I feel sorry for her. I think if she were prettier, not to psychoanalyze, but these disillusioned B-tier women, it's like these 7 out of 10s. I don't know why they're doing this. I think that girls like her, why are they doing this? They're doing this because they're not that pretty. Can someone just hook up with her? Can some Groiper Chad just please hook up with her so that she can finally not be miserable? Anyway, Aaron Wexler, she's this female conservative Zog influencer, and she does a video addressed to the Groipers. And she says, it's a psychology issue. The Groipers have this psychology problem because we're the disillusioned young men. We're angry. And here comes a Yenta, here comes a Jewish woman to wag her finger. All right, listen up, young men. I know you guys think you're having fun by saying, all my niggas Nazis, Heil Hitler, but that's not cool. And I replied to her video. I'm like, do you really think this is gonna work? Like, do you believe that? You expect all of us to believe that. Do you believe that? You think that what the young men of America need is another lecture from a woman, from a Jewish woman about fucking anti-Semitism? And this is what's delicious about it. It's like, it's not that deep, bro. I'm seeing all these articles and video responses, and they all want to psychoanalyze the followers. They all want to psychoanalyze the groypers and say, and they do this disgustingly patronizing, condescending thing where they say, you know, they sort of put their hands on their lap and they go, hi, little guy. I know you're really disillusioned and the world is scary, but we don't have to hate Jews or something like that. And it's like, look, it's so not complicated. We don't want to be owned by Israel anymore. Like, it's so not complicated. People are like, it's about video games, it's about porn, it's about the whatever, divorce, it's about the job market. It's like, dude, we don't want to go to war with Iran. We don't want to go to war with Iran. We don't want to give Israel missiles to kill Palestinians. We don't want people like Ben Shapiro telling us that we can't fucking live in the city we're born in. Like, is this complicated to you? Do we need like a PhD thesis in why I'm popular? 1, I'm really handsome. 2, I'm super funny. 3, I'm all around, like, I think I'm a nice enough guy, right? But maybe 4, the biggest reason is we don't want Israel controlling America anymore. But that's the conversation they don't want to have. They want to have a conversation about everything else. What's wrong with our young men? Nothing is wrong with us. Nothing is wrong with us. There's something wrong with you. Like, Aaron Wexler is a Jewish girl who only cares about Israel. Of course you want us to support Israel. You're Jewish. She's like a pro-Israel Jew who is horrified by October 7th. And so the GOP became the refuge from progressives on the left that don't support Israel. And now that the right is saying, you know, we don't really support Israel either, now it's we have a psychological issue. And yeah, maybe I have psychological issues, but that's separate. That's completely, look, I mean, we could have psychological issues and say, this is what time it is. You know, okay, the sky is blue, it's raining outside, and Israel controls our country. All of my issues aside. So it's so funny because I see these pieces from Chris Rufo and On the Blaze, and they're trying to make it about everything else. And it's just this simple. The country seems to not be working. It's malfunctioning. We're bankrupt. Everything's too expensive. Job market is tight. People are not able to form families. Like, so you have a situation where outcomes are not good for young people. And I think that all this does is it exacerbates or maybe highlights the contrast with all of it, which is that the government doesn't seem to care about its own people, but it cares about Israel. You can't bail out Americans, but you can bail out Israel. And we're fighting their wars endlessly. Like, the election for the past 20 years has been about the war in Iraq. And now we're about to start a war with Iran? And you need something wrong with you to see that there's a problem with this? So anyway, white ass niggas going hard as fuck. We don't actually need to listen to you. We don't care what you have to say. The last thing this country needs is another pro-Israel Jew telling everybody what to do, I think. I think that's sort of the referendum on Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, and the neocons is we Americans want to have a discussion with other Americans about what is best for Americans. And specifically the men, because men are expected to provide for their families. Men are the ones that seem to have the bad outcomes. So the men are taking responsibility for themselves and their country. We are talking to each other as Americans and saying to ourselves, we are going to step up. We are going to lead the country. We are going to set America straight for Americans, for ourselves, for our families, for our posterity, for our ancestors. And to the Shapiros, the Levins, the Wexlers, we're just laughing in your face. We're not listening. You're Jewish, you're pro-Israel, you're fucking cringe. Suffice to say, we're not listening anymore. You had your chance. You had goodwill. You even had censorship and all sorts of other built-in advantages in the media market, and you blew it. With your disingenuousness, with your omissions and your lies, your hypocrisy, your cancel culture, you blew it. Think about the advantage that they had. A guy like Ben Shapiro, he had no rivals. And Tucker pointed this out. Shapiro has a deal with Facebook. I imagine he has a deal with YouTube. So while everybody was being censored by Facebook and YouTube, Shapiro was being promoted. Do you know what a good deal that is? That would be like if you went into business selling hamburgers and the government said, we're going to subsidize Burger King and McDonald's is not allowed to obtain a business license. That's the deal that Daily Wire had going. They were like the #2 advertiser on Facebook for a decade or something like that. The #2 most prolific ad buyer on the platform. Meanwhile, and that's the biggest platform. Everybody else was banned. And for 10 years, they were the beneficiary of cancel culture and all those other structural benefits. And what they did with that is they just abused the good faith and the goodwill of the people. They showed their hand, which is they don't care about Americans. They only care about Israel. They were hypocrites. They lied. They were disingenuous. If anybody was critical of their position, they were dismissive or they tried to destroy that person, like myself. And I said on Twitter earlier tonight, I said, Ben Shapiro's finished. You're done, little man. America has had enough of Ben Shapiro. We see you for what you are, and now we're done with you. Americans are not listening to you. We don't care what you have to say because we know that you don't care about us. So you have contempt for us, and honestly, at this point, the feeling is mutual. So I saw today he had another great clip defending H-1B visas. Nice. So the message from the Shapiro and Levin crowd is 50-year mortgages. If you can't afford to buy a home in the city you grew up in, then you should leave. H-1B visas, which is a scam for cheap foreign labor, are actually necessary. Oh, and if anybody criticizes Israel, they're a Nazi and they need to shut up, and we're going to war with Iran. That's a really winning message. Unfortunately for them, now we have free speech on the internet, so there's other people around that can challenge that. So anyway, Wang half, Shapiro, time is up, buddy. But get the shirt, Fuentes.store. Get the hats. Get them in time for the holiday season. Also, Fuentes.store. Let them know MAGA is dead. MAGA hat is dead. MAGA, if you're wearing a MAGA hat, I get it. If you're like a boomer. But if you're wearing a MAGA hat, you're basically saying, I got tricked and I voted for Israel. You wear an America First hat, everybody knows what you're about. They know that you're about America first. This is like a giant middle finger to globalists, special interests, Israel firsters, the Israel lobby. Fuentes.store, check it out. We're going to dive into the show. I apologize. I was planning on doing a show last night, but I did a gaming stream with Aiden Ross, Cheezer, Clavicular, Cuffum, Some other guys who I don't really know super well. We did a gaming stream on Kick. I was planning on doing a show, but it got to be too late. And this is important news. We're going to be going over the Jeffrey Epstein files. So I figured we really want to spend some time on it. So I saved it for tonight. But if you caught the stream last night, it was kind of funny. It's funny to me how these normies, they really like the racial humor. They're like so giddy about it. I don't know. For me, maybe I'm desensitized to it. But I go on a stream with these normies and they're more hardcore than me. They're making Hitler jokes. They're making black jokes, Jew jokes. They really like the edgelord humor over there. And for me, I don't know. Maybe I got it out of my system over the past 10 years. But I go on their stream and they find it to be so transgressive. You know, they're like, it's kind of funny. It's a little endearing. But I really like Aiden. Aiden's funny. Cheeser's really funny. Cuffham's funny. Clavicular is having his own generational run. Pretty impressive. I see him everywhere now. He's all over TikTok, Instagram, X, and he's ascended. Haters will say it's gay, but it worked. He ascended. He's now a fucking Chad. And now the Chad does what the Chad wants. He wears a hat that says nigga. He doesn't care. And no one is stopping him because Chad does what Chad wants. So there's something to lookism. If you can ascend as a groiper, if you can look smacks, maybe you can do whatever you want. Maybe those are the rules. Maybe he was vindicated on that. But anyway, so hope you enjoyed that stream last night. Maybe I'll upload it on Rumble. Then again, maybe I won't. It was pretty politically incorrect. And that's me. I'm saying that. But Aiden's been a good friend to me, so we had a lot of fun. And he was getting a little bit of heat for it, but not a lot from what I saw. Anyway, we're going to move on. We're going to dive into the news here. Our featured story, we're going to talk all about the Epstein files, which were finally published this week, although not all of them. And you might recall where we left off on this story. Trump had closed this case in July. And understand what actually took place. He didn't stall. He didn't postpone the release of the files. He didn't even say he wouldn't release them. In July, he said there are no files. Trump said there are no Epstein files. They don't exist. There aren't any. He said the only thing that is left to disclose is all child porn. In other words, it's the actual video or photo recordings of underage girls. He said those are the only articles of evidence that are out there. There's no emails, there's no text, letters, there's no other persons of interest, no third parties, there's no other investigations. They said none of that is real. To which the people replied, that's obviously a lie. And not only is it a lie, but it's a cover-up. Now you're actively complicit and involved in the cover-up of the Epstein conspiracy, which is arguably worse. And so this happened back in July. Congress was about to go into recess for the summer, but they took their recess almost a month early because Republicans and Democrats were going to work together to force the DOJ to release the files. So Congress literally went home early. They shut down all their official business and they went home early for no reason other than that if they stayed in session, they might have been forced to release the Epstein files. So they went into recess. Then when they returned, there was the government shutdown. It's interesting timing, isn't it? Sort of convenient. Then all of a sudden, the Democrats shut down the government for no reason at all. They shut down early. Then they go on recess. Then they come back, and for literally no reason, the Democrats said it was about Obamacare subsidies, but as we discussed earlier in the week, they agreed to open the government without getting Obamacare subsidies. So that was not the real reason. They shut down the government, and it's the longest government shutdown in history. 45 days. Now that the government has reopened, okay, understand the timeline. This has been like a 4-month shutdown from July. The DOJ shuts it down on July 7th. Congress goes into recess a couple weeks after that. They come back, longest government shutdown ever. They just reopened the government this week. And now, here it is. The House Oversight Committee releases the first tranche of Epstein files. And this is a story from the New York Times. We're going to work through it, and we'll talk about some of the specific emails that were released. That says, quote, "The mocking and accusatory voice of Jeffrey Epstein emerged from a trove of more than 20,000 emails made public by lawmakers on Wednesday, including his claim that President Trump once spent hours at my house on the island with a young woman who later accused Mr. Epstein of sexually abusing and trafficking her when she was a teenager." So, according to the emails, Epstein places Trump potentially on his island while child sexual abuse was occurring. This is in the first trove. In a series of emails with friends and associates, Mr. Epstein described Mr. Trump as a dirty businessman who was borderline insane, untrustworthy, and worse in real life and up close than the image he sought to portray to the public. The document dump was the latest act in the rapidly unfolding political drama engulfing Speaker Mike Johnson and the Republican majority. They shuttered the House for the past 2 months, in part to forestall a bipartisan effort to force a floor vote on a bill which would compel the Justice Department and FBI to release a separate set of documents, this one involving their investigation into Mr. Epstein and his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. That bid gathered enough supporters to force a vote within weeks, and Mr. Johnson said he would relent and bring it to a vote next week. Mr. Trump urged Republicans to reject any effort to revive a discussion of his relationship with Epstein, blaming Democrats for the release of the documents in a post on social media, writing they were trying to bring up the Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown. So let's work through this piece by piece. First of all, maybe this is the most obvious thing about the files. The release of this batch of 20,000 emails proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it is black and white, undeniable, that Trump is a liar. Trump lied about the files, and he lied in the furtherance of a conspiracy and a cover-up of the Epstein scandal. Because what his Department of Justice said in July is that there are no files. They didn't say there are no persons of interest. They didn't say there is no third-party investigation. They didn't say that there's nothing germane to a future investigation. They said there are no files, and they insisted upon this for months. They denied the existence of the files. And we all knew that was a lie. We knew that because it was reported to us that in May, Trump instructed the FBI to go through those files and look for his name. And they found it all over the place, and they told him that. And Trump lied that he didn't know whether his name was in the files, but he did because he was worried about it. He knew it, and he got the FBI to comb through the files and confirm it. Then months later, he said there are no files. Well, as of yesterday, now that we have the 20,000 emails, we know that he lied. There are Epstein files, and what was delivered to the public were emails and other communications, and they do contain Trump's name. And some of it is relevant, and some of it is not, and some of it we can chalk it up to a personal rivalry or feud, and maybe some of it is relevant. But what we know at the minimum is that Trump lied about the files to cover them up. That is awfully suspicious given that Jeffrey Epstein died under the custody of Trump's government in 2019. And people forget this. But Epstein was rearrested by Trump's DOJ. He was rearrested when Trump was president. And where Epstein died, where he allegedly killed himself, it was in a facility that was technically under the jurisdiction of Bill Barr, Trump's attorney general. So this is not a good look. If a sex trafficker, serial blackmailer, intelligence operative, or mercenary, if he is arrested and dies under mysterious circumstances in Trump's custody, and Trump comes back to power and then covers up all the files relevant to the investigation of that person and his death, it's confirmed that he lies. And when the files come out, he's named all over them. Not a good look, to say the least.